The car business is rapidly changing, and modern car dealers are meeting the demand. I'm Michael Cirillo, and together we're going to explore what it takes to create a thriving dealership and life in the retail automotive industry. Join me each week for inspiring conversations with subject matter experts that are designed to help you grow. This is the Dealer Playbook. My guest today is Nathan Hayes. He is the mayor of Carville. That's how everyone's going to think of him after this. You're going to hear his journey from starting in the car business 6 years ago to where he's at today, where people are referring and he knows people in the community. And guess what? People that are in the community are saying, hey, dude, when are you going to run for actual mayor? Mr. Nathan Hayes, man, thanks so much for joining me on DPV.
Hey, Michael. Great to be here. Love the show. Long time follower and listener, and I'm truly honored to be here. So I'm jacked up.
Cool to have you on the show today. And this topic that we're going to be discussing is very timely, especially since the Gary V episode, which you in fact are following. Gary gave some interesting insights into what sales professionals can do specifically to expand their market or dominate their market, which is what you are going to give us the tips on today, which I'm looking forward to. But before we get into that, I want to just turn it over to you for those that are maybe this is their first exposure to the mayor, to Mr. Hayes. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your career, your journey in automotive, and then we'll get into the tips, tricks, and strategies.
Sure. Well, the mayor was a pseudonym or nickname, came up as a joke about 3 or 4 years ago. I've been in the car business now for almost 6 years and really had no sales background before, just kind of been a homebody, went away, moved back. And all my coworkers are like, man, so many people know you everywhere we go out to lunch, you work late, you're here. And then all these people just keep coming and asking for you like, everyone, or I know a couple people and 10 times that many, or you have a ton of Facebook friends, or whatever else. So that's kind of always been an inside joke. I work at a Jefferson City Autoplex. We have a Hyundai store, Nissan, Honda, and Kia, and I'm very blessed and very lucky because I can sell out and under those 4 rooftops. So I have a competitive advantage because I got 4 great brands. We also have a large selection of used cars, and it's really allowed me to make a name for myself where I live and even in our market.
Yeah,
so.
It's funny as you're saying this too. I mean, I found myself in the same boat as maybe some of your coworkers or whatever, where they're like, "Man, I don't feel like I know anybody." And so, I think it's important to note though that if you actually sat down and you started making a list of everyone you know, and maybe you don't know them by name, but you associate with them. Maybe it's your barber, or I don't know, like your whatever, the favorite bakery you go to or the deli you go to, and you just made a list of those people, like the person that you would fill up a piece of paper pretty quickly.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, all my guy friends like hanging out with me because I remembered everyone's name. So like at high school reunions, I'm popular because I remember all of our classmates.
Yeah.
I think I have 4,000 some Facebook friends.
Sure.
If you rewind back 2 years before I really started hyper networking with a lot of people in the car business, I mean, every single person, it was a joke at work, every single person that I'm friends with on Facebook, I could tell you who they were, how I met them, when the last time I saw them was, maybe, who they're married to or dating. And it's not like I creep on people. It's just,
I was going to say in a non-creepy way.
It's like... they have a segment on 60 Minutes where they say, oh, where were you December 5th, 2010? And people can remember what they wear or where they were from or where they were living, what they did that day. I can just remember that with names and faces. So that is an advantage for me. But at the same token, it's kind of a double-edged sword because then people kind of think you're creepy. Like, how'd you know that or how'd you remember that? And it's like, I don't delve into people's lives. It's just with social media being so big and text messages and phone numbers and whatever else. We'd be in college. In college, all my friends wanted to go party with me because I knew all the girls, and I just kind of in passing or got introduced to them, and I would actually act like I didn't know people because they would be like weirded out that I remembered their name from, marketing 101 class, 2 semesters before. And it's just truly because I'm really good with names and faces. And so that is definitely an advantage that I have with my customers, people in the service drive, coworkers, ex-coworkers, and just seeing people out and about. You network and go to various events as we'll kind of get further into the segment or the show, and it's a gift, and I'm sure not everyone has it, but that's why I think this episode will be important to anyone who's new in the car business or who's been in the car business for 10 or 15 years, because there's so much out there, and nowadays because of the internet, I think there's less and less people that just firsthand, just straight up come in the dealership on the lot. I think you really have to make a name for yourself and network with people. And that way people just automatically come to the dealership and ask for you, as opposed to just walk in the front door and maybe they don't get greeted. Maybe no one ever follows up with them. Maybe, nobody talks to them, so they leave, or they have this perception then of your dealership that nobody wanted to help me, as opposed to I can just technically sit at my desk and people come in and ask for me, not all day, every day, but I mean, it's pretty. Today was my day off, and 2 people came in and asked for me when I was there. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good feeling.
It reminds me of one of my favorite books, and I know it's a lot of people's favorite books, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mm-hmm. And he talks about, I mean, like you said, you feel like it's a gift for you. And there are some people out there that are like, man, I just remember people, I know things about them and those sorts of things.
Right.
Whereas there are a lot of people who are like, dude, I could be talking to somebody and ask their name 5 times and I don't remember who they are. However, it reminded me of How to Win Friends and Influence People, because in there he talks about how one of that is a good attribute to have in building a business. And he also gives some stories of people who implemented strategies in their lives whereby they could become better at remembering people's names. And it was as simple, if I remember correctly, as you hear somebody's name, and as soon as possible after that conversation, you would go and write it down, and something that stood out to you about them, and you would write that down. And like, maybe he's the guy that wears blue ties all the time, or she likes diamond earrings. And so you'd write their name down and the thing that you would associate with them, and it helps you remember.
Yeah.
But having said that, we know, okay, you've got this ability, to remember people's names, and we know the importance of that. Walk me through 6 years. I think a lot of people would agree, hey, that's not a lot of time in the car business. But to go from, 6 years ago not being in the car business or just starting in the car business to where you're at today, where on a consistent basis people are coming in and asking for you even on your day off.
Right.
This is something I think a lot of people would agree they want, for those watching or listening in. How do I make that happen? Walk me through this. Like, just where do we start out? Because I know these people listening in, they're going, okay, this is cool. That's what I want. What's my step 1? What's my step 2? So if you had to walk me through, what were your steps coming into the biz?
Yeah.
What are you working on?
I think it's important to note too, just being on this call, 6 years, you're coming a long way. So I would just start at first, day one, I got actually interviewed, and then they said they were too busy, so I needed to come back another time. I mean, I was in essence a nobody. I had never been in sales before. I had, kind of from my hometown or whatever else, but I didn't know the difference between a Hyundai Sonata and a Honda Accord, or a Kia Optima and a Nissan Altima.
Right.
So, anyone, starting tomorrow or after this episode airs, these are all things that anyone can relate to, whether you've been in the business for a long time. And so it just, I did things just because I didn't know any better. I got my job because I joined the Chamber of Commerce. We had a group called Young Professionals. That's where I basically got hired or offered a job. I stood up in front of a bunch of people and said, hey, I have a college degree. I work part-time, and I'm looking for a job, and everyone laughed. And that's in essence how I was told by my boss, hey, if you've got enough stones to tell everyone you're unemployed and laugh about it, you should sell cars. And so apparently that was funny. And I remember Subi's episode. She talks about basically a lot of great people get into the car business on accident, and that really resonated with me a year ago, I think, when she said that, because the same thing happened to me. So, I would pick a hobby, and stick with that. So like I like coaching or I like sports, but I knew I obviously at 31 and I weigh 200 some pounds, I wouldn't be able to play sports. So I would coach sports and volunteer, and I look at that in a numbers game. Every year I'm going to coach 10 or 15 kids. Those kids have parents. Those parents buy cars. Their friends buy cars. Their grandparents buy cars. They have another child. You need a bigger car. And then now those kids, 6 years later, they're aging out or aging up, and they're in high school. So now they need cars. So I had really 6 good years of coaching in the summer, just volunteering for fun. And then I'd coach my now daughter and all those parents. I mean, I don't sell 20 cars a month to previous T-ball parents, but that's something, if you pick a hobby, whether it's fishing, scouting, coaching, chess club, speech and debate, theater. Let's say you like to work out. A lot of people in the car business probably don't have the healthiest lifestyle. I get a lot of friends that are, jacked and ripped and stuff. I'm not. So I do fitness challenge every year, and I do it selfishly for myself to lose weight. But I know that on my team or the group that I'm in is predominantly going to be women. They're decision makers. And in each of my classes, there's going to be 20 people. And those are, not that everyone's a number, because I never treat anyone that way, but it's just all it is do you have a better chance of selling a car to someone who's a fresh up on the lot, or someone that you've sweated with for 90 days over a fitness challenge and laughed and cried and panted and been upset and cursed at your trainer?
And if you're just joining this conversation at this time marker, understand that there is context before the sweated with, laughed with, and cried with.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all those things around you. So I knew, hey, I'm new in the car business. I know lots of people. They don't know where I'm at. They don't know what I'm doing. I need to go tell them. And yeah, you can, advertise on Facebook. And I try to post, I try to be myself on Facebook and not advertise way too much, because I think people get inundated and blown away with, hey, come. I watch people daily say, hey, we're having a sale today. Come buy a car. Hey, we're having a sale today. Come buy a car.
Everybody's saying the same thing.
And everyone's saying the same thing. And it's like, well, I don't know this guy. Half the people, their Facebook profiles don't even sell. Who are they selling cars for? Are they selling cars for their buddy? Right. Or are they selling cars for themselves? And that's just a pet peeve of mine. So
you're basically, you're basically saying, look, people are inundated online with the same message from a gazillion people, but you basically, in a better way, you took that concept offline. You didn't shy away from telling people what you did in real life, where it really matters.
Correct. Yeah, because you can be the same person on social media as you are in person, especially if you have a family. You're going to do those things anyway, so you might as well make the best of it. So if I'm going to coach my daughter's T-ball team, it's kind of like herding cats, as we joke about. You might as well get to know all the parents. There's going to be parents listening. How many times have you been on a coach? You don't even get to know the other parents. You don't even know their names. You don't even hardly know the kids' names.
Right.
The coach doesn't introduce them, blah, blah, blah. I would always get gift cards and stuff, just like when I sell people cars, get bottles of wine or whatever else, because I'd introduce everyone to everyone else. And that, in essence, would send referrals to them. I've got insurance agents that I've coached their kids for that, later on down the road have sent me referrals or bought cars for me, or they need a van or, whatever else. And I just think that just goes back to home field advantage in being aware of your surroundings and knowing, not everyone's going to buy a car every 2 years or 10 years or 15 years, but I have a rough list of maybe some people that I probably should contact in 10 years because I know they're going to be able to trade. I don't need to call those people in 90 days and say, hey, are you ready? Because that's not how it is.
Well, what's standing out to me here is, everything you're talking about, the fact that, wait, I know people and they know people and they know people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and not shying away from telling people what you do or who you work for or those sorts of things. That's very entrepreneurial focused thinking. Have you always been that way? Is that something you grew into, or did a light just go off when you started in the business and said, you know what, I need people to know who I am?
My grandpa was in the car business, let's say 30 years. And I think whenever everyone said, oh, when you're a junior in high school, where are you going to go to college at? Where are you going to go to college at, et cetera? I knew I was going to go to college. I didn't know what my end game was. I didn't ever expect that I would sell cars. And so I knew when I graduated from college, everyone made fun of me. My junior year of college, I was looking for jobs. I wasn't applying, but I was looking because I wanted to know when and if I graduated, what position I might be interested in that might be available in 2 years.
Sure.
You can look at the car business exactly the same with your customer base. Hey, I know that I got to sell a car tomorrow, but I also know I got to sell cars in 2 years. And if those names pop up, take a little note, put it in your smartphone or some sort of application or email list, and then just ultimately schedule. I use Siri all the time, and just schedule a call. Hey, I need to follow up with this person, or hey, make a note to call this person or email this person in 90 days or a year and a half. Because you forget. I mean, I talk to 50 people a day, and you forget to follow up with people, and those people deserve to be followed up with.
So, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said. How many people, do you think that the challenge with this, though a small step, I think from my viewpoint and your viewpoint, shy away from that because it just sounds like way too much work. It's like, dude, now you're telling me I got to keep track of this and I got to make a note on this. I mean, how many people shy away from, or do you think it's these small things that are the reason why people shy away from perhaps achieving what they could?
I agree with your latter statement because, and no offense to people I work with, but, Mike's talked about it. I'm sure Grant's talked about it. I'm sure Gary's talked about it. Everyone that's ever been on this podcast has alluded to it at any point. But you just have to go to work and work. And we work with people. I mean, this probably goes for you and maybe some of your staff. I try to put together a list the night before of things that I'm going to do the next day. That way I have 4 to 5 little goals that I can achieve. And that way I feel like I was a success. And then those 4 or 5 things you do and accomplish, you check those off at the end of the day. I don't have a list of 30 things. I got a list of 4 or 5 things I can do. Then I feel like truly, A, I did something at work. B, a lot of those tasks are going to lead to potentially another car deal or helping someone out in the service department or following up with someone that's going to lead to referrals.
Yeah.
And it's not instant. I didn't become successful 4 years ago. I've started becoming successful, this year.
Sure.
I mean, not that I haven't been unsuccessful. It's just, I can see the results. And part of that has to do with staying put. Part of that has to do with making a name for yourself and, treating people the way they wanted to be treated. People talk about the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. I talk about the platinum rule, treat others the way they want to be treated. And that's where really the theme of Home Field Advantage came as a book I read about 3 years ago. I got invited to be in a networking group. If you're not in a BNI group or a networking group, some of those have become fads, but I think ultimately it gives you the chance to connect to 20 or 30 people that are looking to do business with themselves or for you to do business with them, or you can lean on them and they can do business with you. How many people that listen to this connect with realtors? The realtors in your market, they're the pulse of your economy. They're going to tell you why people are going to move here. They're going to tell you, hey, when we move here, we're going to buy a house first, then we're going to buy a car. I have 2 cousins that are realtors, but I still get referrals from other realtors too, because they know, just like I know of them, they know I'm going to take care of their customers. So, if you need to connect with realtors, you need to connect with bankers. I take bankers. I have a buddy that has a little popcorn place out of his house. He charges me $2 a bag for popcorn, so I can get 50 bags for $100. Just sell half a car, I guess, as they say. I can get 50 bags of popcorn, and I can make 50 people's day real quick. I guess unless you're allergic to popcorn, but you go to a bank and you hit up all the loan officers.
You make their day anyway, it just be in a different way.
You make people smile, mix it up. I kind of keep a list and I try to spread the love. Insurance agents, connect with insurance agents, connect with realtors, connect with bankers, people that own gymnasiums, personal trainers.
Yeah.
Because people work out and what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going to go shop for cars. Well, hey, I know this guy, blah, blah, blah. I mean, all the stuff in a big kind of web.
Yeah, and what intrigues me about this is the first 3 things that you've kind of talked about here have nothing to do with actually selling a car.
Right.
And we talk a lot about this on the show, building relationships of trust, because those are the only types of relationships that matter. They're the only types of relationships that are sustainable. I mean, when's the last time you bought something, gave your hard-earned dollars to someone that you didn't trust? Right. And it's one of those same reasons why my grandparents immigrate from Italy and shop at Sears till the day they die, because there was a group of people there that they trusted, or they trusted the name
right.
brands of the product. And so, where I'm going here is, I think, and you tell me, I mean, working, inside the store, give me your reading on this. But I would venture to say that one of the biggest challenges we face as an industry when it comes to the sale of a vehicle is that we, in the back of our minds, expect that every day I'm gonna sell cars today, and we don't reverse engineer what that looks like. And so the journey you're bringing me on here is, I'm reverse engineering this. We're not talking about selling cars right now. Today we're talking about building relationships. What's your viewpoint? Are people
mean?
Are people too focused on the sale of a car?
I tell all my customers selling cars is very easy. Other dealerships and other car salespeople make it very hard. Whether they make it hard for themselves, or, of course, selfishly, they make it hard for me.
Right.
I absolutely don't think it's short term. I think when you look at your bank statement and you look at your direct deposit and you look at your commission slips, I mean, ultimately paying bills and having a family, or trying to start a family, buying a house, trading in upgrading your own ride, that short term stuff. But I just think long term goals. I mean, I have families that have bought 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars from me. And I don't work with anyone else, but maybe one person who's been at the same place for 12 years can say that. So
where's the balance? I mean, yes, like you said, there are all these short-term things that happen every single month. What's the balance between what you've said here, building relationships, building a network, telling people what you do? I mean, all, in my opinion, all very simple things. I think you would agree there's no rocket science here. How do I balance those things that take time to plant the seed and cultivate it and harvest and all those sorts of things, using those farming references, and satisfying the short term needs? Because let's face it, at the end of the day, your spouse is hitting you up, your significant other's hitting you up and being like, "Yo, you make any money today?"
Yeah, it's time to go to Target.
Yeah.
There is a balance, and that's something that I'd imagine I probably need work on, or sometimes struggle with. I think it just goes back with casting a pretty wide net and then cultivating those relationships, and knowing that there are books you can read where they talk about grading your database. If someone's an A, B, C, or D, how many people those people are going to send you. Obviously, you want to give more attention to someone who's an A than they're a D, or an F is someone that's never going to send you business.
Right.
I think, I don't put numbers on people's heads, or I don't consider someone a number, but that is true. I have a guy that I've been over backwards for, and I don't even know where he lives. We delivered the car to him, and for whatever reason, he still doesn't like me, and he had his 5-year anniversary call the other day, and I've literally never talked to him ever since I've sold him a car. But I think he was a good person. I guess something happened somewhere where we delivered him his car and it rubbed him the wrong way. And I just think you can't quit working, because I can't go to work and just bank on, I'm going to get 10 referrals this month, or I need to send out 20 referrals. That way I get 5 from these people. It's just a constant. I still take ups, I don't think I'll stop taking ups for, another 5 years probably. But I think over, let's say, 5 years, I've sold over 800 cars. And then let's say 10% of those people are in the market at any point. Those 80 people that my job when I go to work every day is to find, whether they live 2 hours away or down the street, that want to upgrade their car. And I've missed some. I mean, you're always going to miss some. You're not going to get everyone back the second time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of, social media, Instagram now. If you're not on Instagram, you should be on Instagram. If you're not on Snapchat, you should be on Snapchat. If you're not on Twitter, you should be on Twitter. Just because when someone searches your name, that's just one more little free nugget, as you say, or as everyone says, to be seen or to be found. And it is a balance. It's a struggle. I try to talk to 10 previous owners. This is kind of something to practice. I try to talk to 10 previous owners, satisfied owners every day. And so that's, 50 people a week, 60 people a week. And one of those people surely is going to know someone that is going to need a car. So that's an extra 4 deals a month. And people I work with sell 4 cars a month. Some people I work with sell 8 cars a month or 12. And so that's just one of the processes that I use, contacting happy, warm, previous owners every day, 5 days a week.
Okay, so now bring me inside of this, because I know now people are going, okay, I get this. Okay, we network, we introduce ourselves to people, we make them aware. I talk about this all the time. Like, it's so simple when you break it down. If nobody knows you exist, if they're not aware of it, then nobody can do business with someone or something they don't know exists. So the science of that really connects. It's simple.
Right. Absolutely.
The next step now is somebody says, "Oh, cool. What do you do?" You say, "Hey, I'm whatever your spiel is. I work at Jefferson City, Autoplex, right?" Yeah. And they go, "Oh, where do you go from there? Like, how does Nathan Hayes get into the conversation to pique interest? Do you have a specific script, a word track, a go-to that you found that just like works like a charm?"
So I guess my mom raised me right. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I started meeting people, I knew that truly the conversation was about them. So you're dating women, and my wife knows that I can talk for 5 hours. I mean, my customers, my bosses tell me, "Nathan, these people already told you they're going to buy a car from you, and you're still talking to them about, what's going on this weekend at the fair or whatever else." Yeah. So I have the gift of gab, and I think that just wears people down. Whoever talks the least wins, whoever talks the most loses. That's a conscious thing that you need to make effort of. And so it goes back to like what Ryan Stewman talks about. There's a great guy out there, Coach Michael Burt. You guys had him on the show. He talks about basically what he believes in, and that leads into what the customer or prospect in essence does versus what you do. It makes the conversation about them. And then if they're a pretty decent, wholesome person, they're going to ask you what you do. So then you're not creating a wall by saying, "Hey, I'd sell cars, come see me," or whatever. I work with people. All they do is just pass out business cards. That's not, as some people say, that's not really prospecting. They just get thrown away. Or
sure.
I don't keep business cards. I do, but I don't.
So, it's very simply, it's the law of reciprocity, right? And what strikes me about this is you make it about them. And you also, what's funny about this is you make the conversation about them. You give them something to reciprocate on, first and foremost. But then you also talk about these guys that do nothing but handing out cards and how it doesn't really work that well and it's very tiresome. And earlier in the conversation, you talked about the guys who are doing the exact same thing on social media. And so what I want to draw attention to here is if it doesn't work in real life, it's not going to work on social media because guess what? Ding dong, power nugget. Social media is real life. Yeah. Like sitting at your keyboard does not transform you, like translate you to some alternate reality where all of a sudden stupid makes sense.
Right. Creating a Facebook post that you sell cars doesn't deposit money into your checkbook.
Well, instantly. And at the end of the day, everybody knows what you do.
Yeah.
I work at this car dealership. Oh, do you sell ice cream? Like nobody's asking you.
Right.
So where do you go from there? Okay. You've given them something to reciprocate on. They now ask you, "Hey, what do you do?"
Yeah. So then I just basically say, "Hey, I like since I know lots of people, or since now I've been in the car business, I know lots of people. We're a hub for like the state workers." So someone will say, "Hey, Nathan, I work for Department of Transportation." Well, then I know 2 or 3 people that work at Department of Transportation. Maybe that's 2,000 people. But chances are, if I know someone, then that's going to give me credit with them because I know 2 or 3 are the same people. And you can it's like when you go on Facebook and someone adds you as a friend and you're like, "Oh, I've got 36 friends in common with them," or 549. Well, man, should I be friends with this person, or why am I not friends with this person already?
Yeah.
That when you know people that they know, that instantly gives you credit. And so I like to make the conversation, I don't just hammer someone, hey, do you know this person? Hey, do you know this person? Hey, do you know this person?
Yeah.
But I think that gives you, because then if they leave that day or we're at the restaurant and they don't actually, buy a car for me right then and there, or say they're, whatever,
right,
they can go back to work the next day and say, hey, I was at Longhorn Steakhouse and I met Nathan Hayes and he said he knows you. And 99 out of 100 times they're going to be like, oh man, I love Nathan. He's so funny, or he sells cars, or blah, blah, blah. And then it's maybe a 10-second conversation about how goofy I am, or, whatever else. But that gives me
10 seconds out of their life.
10 seconds of trust. Right. Yeah.
What's funny about this? This is very similar to a strategy probably 5-6 years ago that I thought about, when it came to social media. And in fact, most of the most influential people in my life today, whether it's, friends, mentors, whatever, I met all of them on social media. Mm-hmm. And my goal along the lines of what you're talking about here is to just take up enough mind share that they would think about me just for a second. Right. Because I knew if the more consistently that happens, it goes from that 1 second thought process of, oh, there's Michael Cirillo and I like his post, to now all of a sudden I'm paying attention to Michael, and all of a sudden I'm following Michael, and the next thing you know, we meet at a conference, we shake hands, we're real people, we like each other, we become friends, and now we talk to each other all the time, sort of thing. You're basically saying the same thing. It's like, hey, I gave them something that they reciprocated on, and albeit maybe it was a 5-second conversation or a 10-second conversation, people like things to talk about at the office, and they're going into the office the next day saying, hey, I met Nathan. It's also a similar conversation to what happens when people find out I'm from Canada. They go, oh, you're from Canada? You know Tom Smith? He lives 4,800 miles away from you, but still. And it gives them something to talk about. There's that central like hub of conversation that you get to talk about. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to recap this here. Sure. There's some nuggets in here, and for those of you paying attention, you're going to hear a very simple strategy that you can start implementing immediately. There's nothing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, but I mean, there's nothing in here where it's like, oh, they got to go and buy this super system for 103 payments of $189.99. It's basically this, okay? It's build relationships. If you need to know how to build a relationship, then this is not the episode you should be listening to. Right. You need to go start reading books on what can I do to be a good person. And what you've demonstrated here to me, Nathan, is the essence of business. Really, it falls in line with my philosophy, which is be a good person. Right. So get out into the community, join a B&I group or a Rotary group or a Chamber of Commerce group or something like that.
Start your own. Start your own.
Start your own. Make your presence known. Get involved. Let people know you exist. The law of numbers, right? So the more people you can let know that you exist, the more they can let other people know you exist. And just be comfortable. I guess my main takeaway here is be comfortable with the work associated with making results happen. Man, tons of nuggets here, and I'm excited for the show notes because we're going to list out, everything we've talked about here. But in winding down, how can those listening in or watching on YouTube or wherever, how can they get in touch with you?
Everything that I have is Ask for Nate. So I have askfornate.com. It's just you're going to cringe when I say this, but it's more of just a digital business page or a business card for me.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
You can I get referrals sent in through there, just pictures of all my happy customers. Twitter.com/askfornate, Facebook.com/askfornate. I'm the only Nathan Hayes probably, there's probably 6 or 7 Nathan Hayes. It's Hay, no Hays. There's no E in my last name. A lot of people mess that up.
Love it, man. Thanks so much for joining me on DPB.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I'm Michael Cirillo, and you've been listening to the Dealer Playbook Podcast. If you haven't yet, please click the subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. Leave a rating or review and share it with a colleague. Thanks for listening.